Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashvatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashvatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashvatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashvatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Sorry, let me just start over again. Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashvatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashvatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashvatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Shri Goraksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Shri Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Vaiṣṇava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. नाम चैश्ल हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जाय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री श्रवण महाद्वादशी तिथि की जय। श्रील जीव गोस्वामी पाद की जय। तदीय शुभ आविर्भाव तिथि की जय। श्री वामन देव की जय। तदीय शुभ आविर्भाव तिथि की जय। श्री वामन द्वादशी की जय। तिथि पालन करी भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्री रस-पाñcādhyāyī की जय। Srila, what is it? Srila Śrīdhara Svāmīpāda Bhāvārtha Dīpikā ki jai. Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī Vaiṣṇava Toṣaṇī ki jai. Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura Sārārtha-darśinī ki jai. Shri Sarva Raja Devi Gan ki jai. Raseshwari Shri Vrishabhanunandini Śrīmati Radha Ṭhākurani ki jai. श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणति नामिने। नमो ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशे नमः। गुरवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूत हृदयामुनिमानतोऽस्मि नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना हृदन्तस्तो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतम् नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वां नायमां चरणान्तिकम् भक्त्या विहीना अपराधलक्षाय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वं शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम् भज श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Haribol, Raseshwari Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, and Raj Bhuvan Yadav ji. And I'm sure everybody else will be, well, I'm hoping everybody else will tune in later on because, yes, I did without any announcement go live an hour and a half earlier than I normally do. That's because I'm going to be going on Vrindavan Parikrama soon. And so I just wanted to start reading the first, since today is the auspicious appearance day of Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī. And Indira Mataji, she reminded me about Vichitra Didi's Rasa-pañcādhyāyī, and that there's a commentary of Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī in it. And so I thought, let's just start from the beginning, since we only read 2 days, so it's not, and we can start from the beginning with Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī's commentary. And so we're reading from this. I'll share my screen. We're reading from this edition. Let me change the background now that we're restarting Rasa-pañcādhyāyī. That's a good background. I don't know which one's the best. I'll just do it this for now. Okay. It's a little bit. Okay, let's do this one. Okay. We're reading from this edition of Śrī Rāsa-pañcādhyāyī, translated from the Hindi edition of my Srila Gurudev Nitya-lila Pravishya Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. This is published by Seva Kunj Publications. And I'm hoping eventually in the future it will become a GVP publication, but for now it's Seva Kunj Publications. Dedication is to the one pointed follower of Śrīla Rupa Goswami. Oops. To the one pointed follower of Śrīla Rupa Goswami and great Rasik poet who disappeared on Sharadiya Ras Purnima, the very pure full moon autumn day, giving a special signal indicating his return to the eternal Maharas. My beloved Shri Padma, Gaudiya Vedanta Acharya Kesari Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, the best amongst the 10th generation of descendants in the Bhagavat Parampara from Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the founder of Shri Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti and its branches throughout the world. This book manifested by his inspiration and is his own creation. Although it is already his, we offer this publication into his lotus hands. So then it's the contents. First chapter is Shri Krishna and the gopis meet for the Ras dance. Next chapter, the condition of the gopis in separation from Krishna. And then the third chapter is Gopi Geet, the gopis' song of separation. And then chapter 4, Shri Krishna reappears and consoles the gopis. And chapter 5, Shri Krishna performs the grand Ras dance with the gopis. So, okay, we'll read this introduction by my Gurudev, and then we'll read the first verse, and then I think we'll stop. Let me just check the video. Okay. It is our great pleasure. So this is my Gurudev's introduction to the book. It is our great pleasure to present this edition of Rāsa-pañcādhyāyī, taken from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This book is born out of the causeless mercy and inspiration of our most worshipable Guru Pad Parma, Acharya Kesari Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. And we have included our Acharya's commentaries, Śrī Rāsa-pañcādhyāyī's Bhāvārtha Dīpikā, which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted, Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī's Saṅkshēpa Vaiṣṇava Toṣaṇī, and Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākur's Sārārtha. Furthermore, we have written our own Bhavanuvad explanation based on the three Acharyas' elucidations. There are many Bengali translations of these three commentaries, but there was nothing in Hindi. I hope that the Hindi-speaking public will be able to relish our Rāsa-pañcādhyāyī with the commentaries. Years ago, I spoke a series of lectures on Śrī Rāsa-pañcādhyāyī along with its commentaries. After hearing these deliberations, my audience again and again requested me to publish these in book form in Hindi. I could not refuse them. I do not know how this turned out. Only the readers can judge. Padma Puran confirms that Srimad Bhagavad Mahapuran is the very embodiment of a Dhokshaj Bhagavan Shri Nandanandan. Pado yadiyo pratama ditiya tritiya turyo katita yaduru nabhistata panchama eva shashtra bhujantaram dor yugalam tatanyo kantastura navamo yadiyo mukharavindam dashamam prapulam ekadasho yasya lalata patakam shiropi tu dvadasha eva bhati tamadidevam karuna nidhanam Tamalavarnam suhitavataram apara sansara samudra setum bhajamahe bhagavata sarupam. I worship the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the bridge for crossing the ocean of repeated birth and death. It has appeared for the benefit of all beings as the literary incarnation of Sri Krishna. He is the origin of all the gods, the storehouse of mercy, and is black like the tamal tree. Srimad Bhagavatam consists of 12 cantos, which corresponds to the 12 different limbs of the Lord's body. The first and second cantos are his lotus feet. The third and fourth cantos are his thighs. The fifth canto is his navel. The sixth canto is his chest and mighty shoulders. The seventh and eighth are his arms. The ninth canto is his throat. The 10th canto is his blooming lotus face. The 11th canto is his forehead. The 12th canto is his head. The 10th canto of this Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapuran, chapters 29 to 33, are known as Śrī Rāsa-pañcādhyāyī. In the very beginning of his commentary, Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Thakur has proclaimed these 5 chapters to be the 5 life heirs of Srimad Bhagavatam. There are 2 types of Raslila, Nitya and Maha. Adi Puran mentions the Nitya Ras, and Srimad Bhagavatam describes Maharas. Again, Maharas is divided in two, Sharadiya and Vasant. Is it Sharadiya or Sharadiya? I want to check that. Anyways. Actually, Ras Lila takes place every full moon night, but only Sharadiya and Vasanta have been recorded in the Shastras. Sharadiya Ras is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, and Gita Govinda gives an account of Vasanta Ras. The subject matter of the book in hand is Sharadiya Ras. Bhagavan performs his pleasure-filled pastimes to bestow mercy upon his devotees. Indeed, he has manifested this Ras Lila to show special favor to those who have taken shelter of Madhur Ras, his amorous pastimes. Hearing about the sweet moods of the Madhur Ras gopis, the devotees become inspired to enter Rag Marg Bhajan, the path of spontaneous devotion under the guidance of the gopis. Brahma and Indra had a doubt about Sri Krishna being the supreme Godhead. For 1 year after Brahma stole the cows and cowherd boys, Krishna himself took the forms of those calves and cowherd boys. This convinced Brahma of the truth, and he offered prayers glorifying Sri Krishna as Para Brahma, the Supreme Lord. Indra was also skeptical and sent torrential rains, but his pride was smashed when Sri Krishna held Giriraj Govardhan aloft. Indra then came with the Surabhi cow to beg forgiveness and perform Abhishek of Krishna. Kamdev also thought that Krishna was an ordinary cowherd boy and came to defeat him. The proud Kamadev had already conquered Sri Brahma, Indra, Chandra, and other demigods who had previously thought the cause of all causes, Sri Krishna, to be ordinary. Kamdev challenged Krishna and summoned him to enter the arena. Krishna gladly accepted the challenge. Millions of gopis performed an impenetrable circle, and Kamdev stepped inside. It was a beautiful full moon night on the bank of the Yamuna, where fragrant breezes were blowing through the secluded bowers. All of these elements manifested to serve Kamdev's purpose. But Sri Krishna performs the Ras Lila, and when Kamdev witnessed Krishna's supreme beauty in the circle of the gopis, he was stupefied. Indeed, Manmata Sri Krishna soundly defeated him. Bhagavan Sri Vedavyasa's son, Sri Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī, who spoke Srimad Bhagavatam, was completely renounced through his whole life. This crown jewel of swan-like liberated sages was beyond the influence of the illusory energy. Indeed, he did not even know the difference between male and female. If this Ras Lila were a mundane, lusty affair, then such an exalted personality would have not described this in front of all the Deva Rishis, all the sages among the demigods, the Maharishis, the great sages, the Vipra Rishis, the Brahman sages, and the Raja Rishis, the saintly kings who were present in Sri Parikshit Maharaja's assembly. If it were something vulgar, then he would have referred to Sri Krishna as Bhogeshwar, the king of enjoyers, and Kameshwar, the lord of lust. But instead, he addressed him as Atmaram, Atmaram who finds satisfaction within, and Yogeshwar, the supreme master of all mystic powers. At the end of the Ras Lila, Sri Shukadev said, Vikreditam Vrajavadu Biridang Cha Vishnu. Hearing this pastime of Sri Krishna, who is the hero of Ras Lila, completely expels the disease of lust in the heart and bestows the supreme bhakti at the lotus feet of Bhagavan. That's from chapter 33, verse 39. That's the end. It is said that Ras Lila is the pastime of Krishna's victory over Kandarpa. Therefore, he has earned the title Shakshat Manmata, directly the enchanter of Cupid. And devotees call him Madan Mohan, he who bewilders Cupid. In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila, chapter 5, verses 45 to 47, Sriman Mahaprabhu, the crown jewel of omniscient persons, told Sri Pradyumna Mishra, glorifying Ramananda Rai. Vrajavadhu sange Krishna rasadi vilas, Jai jana kohe shune koriya vishwas, Hridro kamatar tatkale hoy kshoy, Teen gunaksho banahe mahadhir hoy. Ujjvala madhur prema bhakti she pai, Anande Krishna madhurye vihare sadai. When a person hears about Sri Krishna's Ras and other Leelas from the lips of the devotees with full faith, and then relates these pastimes to others, the disease of material lust is immediately removed from his heart. The three modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, cannot arouse material desires in him whatsoever. The result of such hearing is that he is lifted above the material modes, and thus he no longer becomes agitated. Indeed, he becomes deeply peaceful. He comes to understand that holding onto material desires will stand in the way of his attaining pure prem. He achieves the most relishable, unmotivated prem bhakti, endowed with the moods of the selfless gopis. Then he always basks in the bliss of Sri Krishna's sweetness. Taking the support of his words uttered by Sriman Mahaprabhu, Srila Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura has written in his commentary of Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33-39, the same verse. This should memorize this verse together actually, but anyways, he says in this verse, Bhagavan Shri Krishna's Ras Leela is the very best of all his pastimes. Indeed, it is the crown jewel of all the Leelas. If one hears and then describes this pastime, speaking or writing about it, with complete faith in the words of the scriptures, this will bring about his greatest welfare. If one does this regularly, he attains prem bhakti, even while material desires still lurk in the heart. Eventually, the influence of that prem drives out the disease of lust and other ailments. These two processes go on simultaneously, but prem manifests first. Anyone can achieve success by following this process. No qualification is required. By cultivating this Ras Leela, one can understand that the Vrajavasis are very dear to Krishna, and out of all the Vrajavasis, his beloved gopis are the special recipients of his love. Their devotion to Krishna is spotless. For him, they have given up the bondage of love for husband, father, mother, brother, and other relatives. Furthermore, they throw chastity, social restrictions, and other moral codes to the winds and run to him. Therefore, even though Sri Krishna is the Supreme Lord himself, the best of the Aptakam and Atmaram personalities, and the reservoir of all opulences, he was forced to admit in front of the Vrajagopis, the flag of my love for you is flying high as at high mast, broadcasting your glorious victory. Sorry, guys, I don't know why I couldn't read this. The flag of my love for you is flying at high mast, broadcasting your glorious victory over me. Even if I were to live as long as the demigods, I would not be able to pay you back for what you have done for me. Out of your kindness, you may agree to release me from this debt, but really and truly, I will remain indebted to you for all time. Of all the Vrajagopis, Krishna's topmost beloved is Śrī Rādha, who is the embodiment of Mahabhav. Madanakya Mahabhav dwells only in her heart. It is not found even in Lalita and her other Sakis, or in Akila Rasamrita Sindhu, Shri Krishna himself, who is the ocean of all expressions of love. Only Radha is Raseshwari, the mistress of the circle dance. Without her, there is no question of Ras. In this way, through Ras Leela, Shri Krishna has proclaimed the greatness of the Vraj Gopis, and especially of Śrī Rādha. The crown jewel Paramahamsas, Śrīla Shukadeva Goswāmī, called Ras Bihari Shri Bhagavan, Shakshat Manmata Manmata. Pradyumna of the Chaturvyuha is Shakshat Manmata as well. His quality of also being the enchanter of Cupid comes directly from Ras Bihari Shri Krishna. In the material realm, the demigod Cupid churns the hearts of ordinary humans, making them feel they have fallen in love. But mundane Kamadeva is merely a shadow of an expansion of the expansion of Pradyumna. It is this Kamadeva that is so bewildered by Ras Bihari Shri Krishna at the beginning of the Ras Leela that he fainted in his oh my god. Whoa. He fainted in the excrement. He fainted in his excitement to serve him. This Ras Bihari Madan Mohan is a fresh youth, Navakishore, dressed as a cowherd boy, Gopavesh, holding the flute, Venukara, and the best of dancers, Natavara. He goes to the hearts of very fortunate persons, where he captivates the worldly Cupid, and when this material Madan faints, Krishna tugs at their heartstrings. Now these persons' hearts are continuously churning with the desire to attain their spiritual body favorable for serving Madan Mohan exclusively in Madhur Ras, the amorous mellow. Akila Rasamrita Murti Shri Bhagavan is the enjoyer of 4 rasas, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. One second. But his topmost beauty manifests in Madhur Ras. The special moods he displays depend on the particular dham and the associates with whom he appears. It is with the Vraj Devis that his sweetness increases to the highest degree, and during the Ras Leela, his sweetness and attractiveness are experienced to their ultimate degree. This Ras Bihari Madan Mohan, and I think it's Madan Mohan, not Mohan. Let me just... Okay. This Ras Bihari Madan Mohan is directly Shakshat Manmata Manmata, the crown jewel of all his beloveds is Śrī Radharani, the embodiment of Mahabhav. She relishes the happiness of serving Shri Krishna and facilitates his tasting bliss and ras and other leelas in Vrindavan. Krishna was not able to repay the gopis for the love-filled seva they rendered to him in the Ras Leela. Thus, he feels ever indebted to them. But this entity called Prem is beyond our imagination. One who has relished it on the strength it bestows cannot describe its characteristics. In the end, the only words they can utter is Madhur, Madhur, how sweet, how sweet. Yeah, one who's relished it on the strength it bestows cannot describe its characteristics. You can only say Madhur, Madhur, how sweet, how sweet. Rasa Rasik. This should be Rasa Rasik Shri Krishna himself said, Santi yadyapi me praja lila stasta manohara nahi jane smrite rase mano me kidrisham bhavet. That's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 21209, quoted from Brihad Vamana Puran. I enjoy many pastimes, and all of them are enchanting. But Ras Leela is so powerful that as soon as I think about it, I can't explain what happens to my heart. There are no words to describe his condition when he is drowning in the flood of the nectar of Ras, going absolutely mad as he relishes supreme bliss. Indeed, he gets completely overwhelmed just remembering it. In Ras Leela, no one has even a scent of desire for one's personal gratification. Therefore, Śrīdhara Svāmīpāda has called this Leela the ultimate renunciation, Nivritti Para. Nivritti Parayam Rasa-pañcādhyāyī ti vyakti karishyamaha. I will be describing detachment as generated in Rāsa-pañcādhyāyī. Okay. Shri Krishna himself has no desire to please his own senses. His only desire is to give pleasure to the hearts of the devotees. He himself has said this in the Padma Puran, Mar bhaktānam vinodartam karomi vividha kriya. I engage in a vast variety of pastimes just to entertain my dear devotees in every mellow. However, the primary purpose of his existence is to fulfill the Vraj Devi's heartfelt yearnings. Thus, he performs the Ras Lila, by which he also tastes untold joy. Krishna's sweetness is so inconceivable that it awakens a tremendous enthusiasm to relish it in the heart of whoever hears about his charming pastimes. Eventually, this enthusiasm overpowers him with such greed that he takes the shelter of a guru and dedicates himself to bhajan. But there's one point to be emphasized in regard to hearing this katha. One must hear only from a Vaishnava who is relishing Krishna's sweetness in his heart at every moment. An intense desire consequently arises in the heart of the hearer. But if you hear from one who is in the grip of anarthas, all you will gain is anarthas. Ordinary persons, not knowing the secret realities of the pastimes, actually take Krishna and the Vraj Gopis in the wrong way and show contempt for them. But hearing pure devotees' deliberations on this book will surely wash away that mistaken understanding. Of this, I am completely sure. I have full faith that the Raganuga sadhaks who are thirsty for Vrajaras Bhakti will deeply appreciate this book. The faithful devotee will read this book and thus become qualified to receive the great treasure of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prem. Due to the pressure of time, there may be some mistakes. I request the reader to correct them while reading. Finally, I appeal to my most worshipful Guru Pad Padma, who is the condensed embodiment of Bhagavan's mercy, that I pray to him that he showers me with profuse mercy, and thus enables me to fulfill his innermost desire. This is my prayer at his lotus feet, which bestow Krishna Prem. Praying for the mercy of Sri Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas on the disappearance day of Srila Guru Pad Padma, Sharadiya Ras Purnima, 14th October 2008. The wretched and fallen, Deenhin, Shri Bhaktivedanta Narayan. And now this foreword by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, I will read this at another time. This is very important. I think this is the article Raising the Divine Temple of the Bhagavat. Yeah, so I'll read this at another time. Okay, so let's begin. I'm just going to read the first verse and Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī's commentary. What time is it? Let me just check the comments. Haribol, Prajumna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams, and Mantramurti Mataji. And Rukmini Didi, Dandavat Pranams. And Gopikanta Prabhu and Champak Didi, Dandavat Pranams, everybody. So yeah, if you came late, I started early today because I'm going to be going on Vrindavan Parikrama soon. And I just wanted to, I just wanted to commence this on Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī's appearance day. We're going to be reading his commentary. So I started over from the beginning again of Rāsa-pañcādhyāyī. And we're reading from the, this is translated from the Hindi edition of my Gurudev. All right. Chapter 1. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 29. But chapter 1 of Rāsa-pañcādhyāyī. Shri Krishna and the gopis meet for the Ras dance. Is this text too small for you to read? because I might be able, I don't know, it will be difficult, but I could try to copy and paste this and reformat it on a Word doc. But it would be best if I could just read from this. That would save me a lot of effort. Okay, so verse 1. Shri Badaraya Ruvacha Bhagavana Pita Ratri Sharadotphula Malika Viksharantum Manaschakre Yoga Mayam Upashritaha. Shri Shukadev Goswami said, when Bhagavan Shri Krishna saw the unparalleled splendor of the autumn night beautified by blossoming jasmine flowers, he was inspired to perform the love play of Ras Lila to fulfill the desire of his beloved gopis. Thus, although he is complete in 6 opulences, he took shelter of his internal potency, Yogamaya. When Sri Krishna stole the gopis' clothes, he informed them about those future nights, which all came together as this exquisite divine night. Mangalacharan. Namo Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prishta Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyana Keshava Iti Namine. I offer pranams unto Om Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, who is most dear to Shri Gaur Hari. Attimartya Charitraya Svashitanan Chapaline Jiva Dukhe Sadaya Shri Nama Prema Dayane. He is graced with supermundane character, and like a parental garden, he nurtures with extreme divine affection those who take shelter of him. He is always genuinely aggrieved to see the suffering of the jivas who have turned away from Krishna, and bestows upon them Shri Nam along with prem. Gaurashaya Vigrahaya Krishna Kamaya Kacharine Rupanuga Pravaraya Vinodeti Swarupine. He is the manifestation of the receptacle of Mahaprabhu's prem, foremost among the followers of Srila Rupa Goswami, and his name is Vinod, as he is very skillful in giving pleasure, Vinod, to Vinodini Radhika, as Vinod Manjari, and to Mahaprabhu, as Vinod Brahmachari. Vishvasya Taruposo Bhaktivartma Pradarshanat Bhakta Chakre Varti Tattvat Cakravartī Bhavat. Because he indicates the path of bhakti, he is known as Viśvanātha, the Lord of the universe. And because he always remains in the assembly, the chakra of pure devotees, he is known by the name Cakravartī, he around whom a circle or assembly revolves. Shri Rupa Charana Dvanda Raginam Vrajavasinam Shri Jiva Satatam Vande Mandeshvanandadayinam. I perpetually pay respects to Shri Jiva, who is full of affection for the lotus feet of Shri Rupa, who is a resident of Vraj, and who bestows bliss to the ignorant. Wow, I've never seen this verse before. I'm going to memorize it. I wonder where it came from. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Tushe Namaha. I offer pranam to Shri Krishna Chaitanya, who is Shri Krishna himself. Having assumed the golden hue of Srimati Radhika, he munificently bestows Krishna Prem, the rarest of all gifts. I prostrate again and again at the lotus feet of our Guru Varga, and I pray to all of them for their mercy. My Guru Pad Padma, Om Vishnupad Shishimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, who is an ocean of unconditional mercy. Srila Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura, who is the greatest of exalted teachers and the foremost of preceptors, adept at relishing ras. And Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī, who is the authority on conclusive Gaudiya philosophy, the supremely worshipable Śrīla Śrīdhara Swāmīpāda, and Sachinandan Gaur Hari, who is Shri Krishna beautifully adorned with Shri Radha's golden complexion and mood. Although unqualified in every way, I am undertaking the presentation of elaborated translations of their commentaries on Śrī Rāsa Lila described in chapters 29 to 33 of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhāvārtha Dīpikā, that's of Śrī Rāsa-pañcādhyāyī, Vaiṣṇava Toṣaṇī of Jīva Gosvāmī, and Sārārtha-darśinī of Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura. Bhāv-anuvads, elaborated translations. Elaborated? I'm not sure if that's the right word. Śrīla Svāmīpād's Bhāvārtha Dīpikā. This 29th chapter begins with the conversation between Sri Hari and the gopis, consisting of clever questions, statements, and retorts that took place at the onset of the Ras Lila. This is followed by the description of Sri Krishna's surprising disappearance upon his witnessing the rising of the gopis' pride at the beginning of the Ras Lila. The commentator's auspicious invocation. All victory to Sri Krishna, the master of the goddess of fortune, who looked most beautiful in the Ras Mandal, surrounded by the gopis. He obliterated the pride of Cupid, who had become extremely proud of defeating the creator of he became extremely proud of defeating the creator Brahma and other demigods, after successfully instilling lust in their hearts. He who obliterated Cupid's pride. Sri Śrīdhara Swami wrote this auspicious invocation, thinking that ordinary persons might wonder, how can Bhagavan have conquered Cupid? The Supreme Lord is enjoying with others' wives, so it appears that Cupid defeated him. The commentator has himself posed this doubt, and he resolves it by presenting the following philosophical conclusions. As stated in the phrase Yoga Maya Upashrita, Shri Krishna performs the Ras Lila under the shelter of Yoga Maya, who, as his internal potency, has the special ability to make the impossible possible, agata ghatana patiyasi shakti. So he did not rely upon his external illusory potency for this. Atma Rama Pyari Ramat. That's verse 42 of this chapter that we're on. Shri Krishna is self-satisfied, but still he is engaged in amorous pastimes. In other words, one who is self-satisfied can never experience the rising of lusty desires in his heart. Shakshat Manmata Manmata. That's in chapter 32, verse 2. Krishna, who is the transcendental Kamdev, Krishna is the transcendental Kamdev, and he turns the heart of even Cupid, who agitates the hearts of everyone else. Atmanya Varudha Saurata. In whose heart, what's the footnote here? An elaborate explanation of this phrase is given in Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī's commentary on verse 25 in chapter 33. So in whose heart all symptoms of amorous feelings such as Hav and Bhav have been enclosed. This evidence shows that Sri Krishna exhibited his supreme independence in the Ras Lila, and that this independence was broadcast in a special way. To announce to the world that he is the one who conquered Cupid, Sri Krishna tricked Kamadev with the Ras Lila. Thus, Ras Lila was performed to announce victory over Cupid, and this is the underlying truth regarding this pastime. In this discussion of the amorous mellow and the Rasa-pañcādhyāyī, I will focus more on the subduing of lust rather than its victory. Ta ratrihi, those nights. In Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 10th canto, chapter 22, verse 27, beginning with Yata Bala, Bhagavan said, O fair ones, you have achieved perfection, so return home. I will romance with you in the coming nights. Saying that those nights were appropriate to fulfill his benediction, Sri Krishna develops the desire to perform a Ras Lila. So now we begin on the auspicious appearance day of Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmīpāda. We begin reading from his Vaiṣṇava Toṣaṇī of this Rasa-pañcādhyāyī. Oh wait, and I'm just checking, am I using the right mic? Yes. Oh, Haribol, Ujjwala Pada Mataji. Hare Krishna. Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī Pad's Vaiṣṇava Toṣaṇī. Again and again I offer my obeisances to the Rasa Rasiks, those who are expert in relishing the mellows of Ras Lila. In his commentary on this verse, Śrīdhara Svāmīpāda writes, Rasa Samrambe. This means that this first canto on the Ras Lila begins with the conversation consisting of retorts and rejoinders between Sri Krishna and the gopis, and it finishes by relating Krishna's shrewd and skillful act of going into hiding when he observed the gopis' rising arrogance. With the phrase Kandarpa Jetritva Pratite, Śrīdhara Svāmīpāda has raised the following doubt. Bhagavan Sri Krishna actually defeated Cupid by performing Ras Lila, but to an ordinary person, it may appear that since Krishna romanced with others' wives, he himself was conquered by Cupid. To remove this doubt, Śrīdhara Svāmīpāda replies, it cannot be said like that, because the glories of Bhagavan's Ras Lila are widely known. To show the influence of this extremely powerful pastime, the verse begins with Shri Badarayana Uvacha. Shri Shukadev said. The name Badarayani is used for the following reasons. Shri Vyasadeva performed very severe austerities at Badarikashram, and therefore he is known as Bhagavan Vyasadeva, Shri Badarayan. His worship was the topmost because his austerities were to satisfy Sri Krishna. Just as Sri Krishna is the supreme object of worship, Shri Badarayan is the best of omniscient persons. Consequently, it is possible only for the omniscient Vyasadeva to perform such supremely excellent asceticism for the pleasure of Krishna. The fruits that Shri Vyasadeva received for performing such austerities in Badarikashram came in the form of a son, Shri Shukadev, who is thus known as Shri Badarayani. Since he appeared as a result of Shri Vyasadev's austerities, he naturally developed all the sublime qualities of pure devotees, such as omniscience, prem for Bhagavan, and being filled with ras, transcendental mellows. But the significance of the name Badarayani finds its final glories when he describes the extremely confidential Ras Lila. In other words, only to propagate Srimad Bhagavatam did Shri Vyasadeva attain his son as a fruit of his rigorous austerities. Thus, the ultimate accomplishment of Shri Shukadev's glory as the son of Shri Vyasadeva was indeed to describe the topmost pastime, Ras Lila. Hence, it is appropriate to the original speaker, Shri Badarayani, and to hear the pastimes of Ras Lila with a heart purified by bhakti, just as he did. This is the intention in using the name Badarayani. In some editions, an alternative reading, Shri Shuka Uvacha, is seen. The voice of parrot Shuka is naturally very sweet and soft. Thus, the statement Shri Shuka Uvacha implies that Shri Shukadev Goswami has very naturally presented the topmost sweetness and softness of this Ras Lila pastime, because he is eternally situated in the supremely brilliant mellow of conjugal love, Unattojala Ras. Therefore, Shri Shukadev Goswami is the only effective speaker of Ras Lila, which is saturated with Unattojala Ras. Just as the speaker is absorbed in Unattojala Ras, so the audience also has to listen with the same mood. This is what is indicated by using Shuka. It is seen that Bhagavan Sri Krishna's purpose is to give joy to the gopis who are filled with the topmost love by fulfilling their innermost desires. To achieve this end, he performs Ras Lila, and thereby he himself relishes supreme happiness. Shri Shukadev Goswami highlights these two blissful achievements in these 5 chapters from Bhagavatam by narrating Sri Bhagavan's performance of the dancing pastimes with the beautiful maidens of Raj. These 5 chapters, which are like the 5 senses of the Bhagavatam, are very dear to the devotees. In front of the Vrajagopis, Sri Krishna manifested his supremely lovely and enchanting form, which is the only shelter of all the beauty found in the three worlds. This form is so beautiful that it turns the heart of even Cupid, who captivates the hearts of all others. Gopyas tapa kim acharan. What austerities did the gopis perform in order to continuously drink with their eyes Bhagavan Shri Krishna's unparalleled sweet beauty? That's Srimad Bhagavatam 10:44-14. One comes to understand by examining this verse and some others from Srimad Bhagavatam that only the Vrajadevis have relished in the most intimate way Krishna's unparalleled beauty, flavor, fragrance, touch, and speech. It is extremely rare even for the self-satisfied sages to receive such experience. The Vrajagopis are the only ones who can drink the nectar of Sri Bhagavan's lips. It is completely impossible for others. This is the reason why it is widely accepted that the Vrajagopis are the perfect candidates to participate in the Ras Lila, because in them, Ujjvala Ras flourishes to the highest degree. There are many similar instances where Srimad Bhagavatam describes the glories of Bhagavan Sri Krishna and the gopis. In the amorous diversions of the Ras Lila, the Vraj Sundaris, with their bee-like eyes, drank the nectarian honey of Sri Mukunda's lovely lotus face, which removed the burning they experienced in the fire of separation. That's Srimad Bhagavatam 10:15-43. The gopis became supremely joyful to see Sri Govinda. That's 10:19-16. Sri Krishna entered the immensely alluring Vrindavan, which was exquisitely decorated by the autumn season with its lakes and rivers, filled to the capacity with crystal clear waters. That's Srimad Bhagavatam 10:21-1. The unmarried Vrajagopis took a vow to follow strict rules and worship Katyayani in the first month of the winter season. That's 10:22-1. These verses describe in a special way the sprouting passion of Krishna and the Vraj Sundaris for each other. Remembering Krishna, the gopis spoke the forthcoming verses. O Master of amorous affairs, the sidelong glance emanating from your eyes, which defeat the beauty of the lotus in the autumn pond, has made us your unpaid maidservants. That's Gopi Geet, verse 2. O dear one, we remember your special smile, your beautiful glances, your many amorous intrigues, your heart-touching laughing, joking, and intimate talks. All these memories bring extreme pleasure, and at the same time, they have left us spellbound. That's 10th verse of Gopi Geet. O hero, in the evening, you arouse romantic desires in our hearts by again and again showing us your gorgeous lotus face, surrounded by beautiful dark locks and coated with dust raised by the cow's hooves. It's Gopi Geet, verse 12. The suggestive way you spoke to us in private, the sight of your smiling lotus face, which is the root cause of amorous desire, your loving glances, your broad chest, which is the abode of Lakshmi, all these make us long to be with you. That's Gopi Geet, verse 17. In this way, the Vraj Sundaris themselves described their budding desire. Sri Shukadev Goswami deeply remembered Sri Krishna's and the Vraj Gopis' fresh meetings, and felt it appropriate to describe them in a special way. Thus he spoke this first verse, Bhagavan Api. Although Api, Sri Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he desired to dally with the gopis. Here the word Api leads one to meditate on the gopis' newly arising passion, which is described earlier, and it also indicates the freshness of the forthcoming meeting. Since the time of Vasturaharan Lila, the pastime of Krishna stealing the gopis' garments, the cowherd maidens had been restlessly to engage in amorous amusements with Krishna, their excitement having been aroused in Purva Rag, the passion of anticipation before actually meeting with their beloved. Intense feelings of love, anurag, had already risen in Krishna's heart, but he was controlling himself patiently for the proper moments till the gopis' amorous emotions developed the necessary fervor. That is why he did not act on his desires immediately. Now the Vraj Sundaris are in mid-adolescence, that's Madhya Kishore, and are naturally exhibiting the spreading of joy and auspiciousness, which are the qualities of that age. Those gopis have come to understand the language of the flute, and due to this ability, they are extraordinary. During the Vastraharan Lila, Shri Bhagavan promised the gopis, "O tender girls, now you have attained perfection, so you should return to Vraj. In the future nights, I will perform delightful pastimes with you." When Bhagavan Shri Krishna saw the advent of those nights illuminated by the full moon, which were just right for keeping his pledge and which were radiant with deep anurag, he gave up his self-control and indulged in amorous play. This indicates that although the Atmarama Munis, the self-satisfied sages, do not engage in any activity except for meditating, they still perform bhakti to Bhagavan. Similarly, although Bhagavan is fully satisfied in every respect, even though he is Atmaram, the sight of those special nights stimulated his desire to experience amor. In this way, the logic of how much more or how much less, Kaimutika Nyai, demonstrates the glories of the prem of the Vraj Sundaris, who are the abode of love, the Alambana Roop. If such charming sweet nights are the stimulant, the Udipana, then what can be said about these gopis, who are the vessel of that love? Here, seeing the beauty of the night, Shri Krishna remembered the gopis in his heart, and this stirred his desire for amor. Therefore, Krishna's adolescent age is supremely glorious because it manifests everything needed for the accomplishment of his Leela. The description of the Ras Leela shows that both Shri Krishna and the gopis were in their Kaishora age, that's 10 to 15 years old. The Vishnu Puran confirms this. Bhagavan Shri Madhusudan, who takes away all miseries, honored his adolescence by associating in a delightful way with the gopis for many nights. The Harivangsha also mentions this. Bhagavan Shri Krishna, who is expert in determining the appropriate time, Kalarvid, respected his Kishore age and engaged in amorous play with the young gopi maidens for many nights. I like that. He gave respect to his age. Here, Kalavid has the same meaning as Taratri Viksha in this first verse. That is, he experienced those nights as the stimulant. Sa tabir mumudaha, from this verse from Harivangsha, and Rantum Manas Chakre from the main verse. These mean, thus he was inspired to revel with the gopis. So that's okay, cool. Here, the root kri and the verb chakre, did, indicates that action reverts to the self, atmanepad, revealing Krishna as the enjoyer of the fruit of the activity. Hence, this Raslila is not only for the gopis' pleasure, it is also meant for Bhagavan Shri Krishna's happiness. The word ta, those nights, in the original verse, indicates a very special and astonishing time for Shri Bhagavan. The phrase Sharadotpula Malika describes the sweet beauty of Vrindavan. Vrindavan had become extremely beautiful with the blossoming of the Malika and other autumn flowers. Ordinarily, Malika flowers do not blossom in the autumn. Yet in this instance, both Malika and seasonal flowers were present at the same time, constituting an unprecedented phenomenon. Although only Malika is mentioned, it is implied that all other varieties of flowers were also in bloom. This verse reveals that the Vraj Sundaris as the dwelling place of love, Alambana, and the ideal place and time as the stimulant, and the ideal place and time as a stimulus. So the gopis are the alambana, and the ideal place and time are the stimulus, the udipana. So these Vraj gopis, these Vraj sundaris, give supreme love-filled happiness to Sri Krishna. The time, place, and other stimuli are extremely favorable for creating the proper atmosphere for Sri Krishna's Ras Leela. This pastime is the intrinsic form of love, Prem Sarup, being the symptom of amorous delight emanating from Sri Krishna's internal potency, his Ladini Shakti. Thus, Sri Krishna's special desire for amorous delight is filled with pure love. It has no connection with mundane lust. Srila Śrīdhara Svāmīpāda wrote, "All glories to Sripati Sri Krishna, who looked so beautiful when surrounded by the gopis in the Ras Mandal. He looks so beautiful that he turns the heart of even Cupid, who captivates the hearts of all others." This statement is absolutely proper, for Śrīdhara Svāmīpāda has proclaimed the Rāsa-pañcādhyāyī as the vehicle for defeating lust. If you have any lust, this is the vehicle for defeating it. To support his statement, he writes in his Mangalacharan in the forthcoming commentary of chapter 32. Inspiration from Sri Krishna, the Vraj Sundaris began to wail loudly. When Krishna heard them, his heart melted. He appeared among the gopis and very respectfully consoled them. He saw that the gopis' hearts were overwhelmed by the nectarian waves of his love, and by appearing among them, he very mercifully gave pleasure to their hearts. Sri Shukadeva Goswāmī, the best of the sages, concluded his recitation of Ras Leela with the verse Vikriditam Vrajavadu Biridam Cha Vishnu. We should memorize this verse together. Maybe I can make a video sometime to help you memorize it. A sober person who in the beginning faithfully and continuously hears from his guru about the supremely sweet narrations of the all-pervading Sri Krishna's unprecedented Ras Leela with the young brides of Vraj, which is full of pure love, and later describes those pastimes, very soon attains supreme love for Bhagavan. And after that, very quickly his heart disease of material lust will be dispelled. That's in chapter 33, verse 39. So like towards the end of Rāsa-pañcādhyāyī. Sri Shukadeva Goswami's declaration clearly proclaims that this Ras Leela conquers lust because it is full of pure transcendental love and has no tinge of material wantonness. The Ras Leela, which is the all-time embodiment of supreme transcendental bliss, has not even a scent of the play of mundane lust. Sri Bhagavan has shown in the Ras Leela the crucial role played by Yogamaya, who is the very embodiment of his inconceivable energy and who can make the impossible possible. Therefore, just as Yogamaya is the very form of unimaginable potency, so Ras Leela is also endowed with the same powers. This is what one should understand. The sun rays are never separated from the sun. Similarly, Bhagavan does not perform any pastime without the help of Yogamaya. Wherever Krishna enacts his play, she is always there supporting the Leela. This indicates that Yogamaya is Bhagavan's intrinsic Shakti. Yoga means to unite. So Yogamaya is the potency who arranges for Bhagavan's devotees to unite with him in his pastimes. The Vishvakosha dictionary defines Maya in two ways: Damba, deceit, and Kripa, mercy. Here, Maya is taken as mercy, and that is why it is said, Yogamayam upashrita. He took shelter of his internal potency, Yogamaya. And the word upashrita, the syllable upa, means to be very near. That is, coming under the sway of his full mercy, Bhagavan Shri Krishna desired to engage in romantic activities with the gopis. A special meaning comes to light for Ta Ratri Viksha, seeing all those nights. All those nights found fruition in the full moon night, Purnima, the queen of nights, when the Ras Lila took place. Shri Krishna's enthusiasm to meet with the gopis increased along the waxing of the moon and reached its peak on a full moon night. At that time, Shri Krishna displayed full zeal to meet with the gopis. That full moon evening, he returned from the cowshed, finished his supper, sneaked past his mother, and went upstairs to his bedroom. There he decided, now the time is right to perform a Ras Lila. I like how it gave that deal. He returned from the cowshed, finished his supper, sneaked past his mother, and went upstairs to his bedroom and decided, now the time is right to perform Ras Lila. So I'm going to stop for now, and we'll continue reading from tomorrow. Dandavat pranams, Ganga Didi. So I have a question for all of you. Let me know. I will go with what the majority of you decide. Should I reread what we've already read from Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura? Because now, the past 2 days I've been reading this chapter with Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura's commentary translated by Bhānuswami. But now I'm wondering if I should reread that commentary, but coming from my Gurudev's Hindi edition, and we'll be reading it alongside Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī's commentary. Should I do that? We only read the first 18 verses, so that means I would reread the commentaries for the first 18 verses by Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura. Let me know, and I'll check the comments later on also to see what you all decide. I'll write a message in our Bhagavatam group as well. All right. Jai Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmīpāda ki jai. And it's strange, I haven't received any calls for going on parikrama. So maybe I might not even go this morning. My friend told me yesterday that he wanted to go at 6 o'clock in the morning, and now it's 7:12. So maybe he canceled. In the case that he canceled, then I will go live again at 7:30. Right now it's 7:12. I'll go live again at 7:30 and read something about the glories of Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmīpāda. So, but if I don't go live at 7:30, then that means that I'm on Vrindavan Parikrama. So, right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaur, Haribol, Nitai Gaur, Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaur, Haribol. Oh, Dandavat pranams, Manini Radha Didi. So great, happy that you joined. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Vihari Ju ki jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Gurudev ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Vaiṣṇava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Srila Baldev Vijabhushan Prabhu ki jai, Srila Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura ki jai, Shri Nartam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu Trai ki jai, Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Gosvāmīpāda ki jai, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadash Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu ki jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Ṭhākura ki jai, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Kshetra Mandala Gora Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki jai, Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai, Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai, Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai, Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Pancha Vayu Pran, Pancha Pran, Śrī Rāsa-pañcādhyāyī ki jai. Śrīla Śrīdhara Svāmīpāda ki jai. Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi ki jai. Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura ki jai. Tadiya. Oh wait, Jiva Goswami's Vaiṣṇava Toṣaṇī commentary ki jai. Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākur's Sārārtha-darśinī commentary ki jai. Shri Sarva Devi Gan ki jai. Shri Raseshwari, Shri Vishwabhanu Nandini, Srimati Radha Ṭhakurani ki jai. Shri Raseshwar, Shri Rajendra Nandan Shama Sundar ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaiṣṇava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Vaman Dev ki jai. Shri Vaman Dwadashi ki jai. Vaman Dwadashi Titi Palan Kari Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Maha Dwadashi Titi ki jai. And I think maybe for some of you it might be Akadashi, right? So Akadashi Titi ki jai for those of you who are following Akadashi today. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaiṣṇava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai, Priyai Keshavashacha, Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha, Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams to your devotees. Mani Manjari, glad he could make it. And very glad that we have Ujjwala Prada Mataji here. Feel very blessed. All right, see you all tomorrow to either start to read Srila Viśvanātha Cakravartī Thakur's commentary for the first verse, or to just continue reading Jiva Goswami's without Viśvanātha Cakravartī Thakur's commentary until we reach verse 18. Let me know what you guys want. All right, Dandavat pranams, everybody. See you all tomorrow.